is A Bit of the Dark, Episode 3. On this podcast, we talk about horror movies. I'm Neil.
I'm Joey.
Last episode, we talked about the first Creep movie. This time, we're going to be talking about the sequel. This is a film from 2017, directed by Patrick Brice, written by Patrick Brice and Mark Duplass, just like the last one. And it stars Desiree Akhavan. Desiree Akhavan plays a girl who has a web series called Encounters. And it's where she basically goes and talks to people who are just kind of like odd individuals, people who post Craigslist ads, and just seem like they're going to be kind of quirky people and turn out to be. And so she just wants to kind of have these authentic interactions with strange individuals, and she hopes that that's something that people are going to respond to, but she's not happy with what she's doing. It's not really what she wanted it to be. It's not really what she expected.
Yeah, and she's not having considerable success on YouTube.
Right. Yeah, she needs something good. She needs a really good subject. That's what she really wants. And she finds...
our man.
She finds her man in the guy, of course, from the last movie, played by Mark Duplass, who is this time going by Aaron.
Thus the confusion of the names.
Yeah, we were having.
He lies about his names. Remember, he lies about his name. So This time he has decided to take on the name of his favorite victim.
She responds to an ad that he put out, just as he did in the first movie. And she's like, okay, yeah, this looks interesting. She goes to his house, she meets him, and of course, he's a total weirdo. And
But he's changed his attitude. He no longer is attracting people to kill them.
Right.
The moment she steps in the door, he completely levels with her. He tells her more or less the truth, which she doesn't believe, thinking that he's basically just an attention seeker.
If you were thinking, like, oh, how are they going to do this again in the sequel? I mean, it's like right away, Aaron lets her know that he's a serial killer. Although he prefers the term murderer.
Yeah, even though he admits that he technically has killed enough people to classify himself as, that he's classified as a serial killer.
He's a very prolific serial killer. And he wants her to make a documentary about him. He's in a midlife crisis.
Yeah.
His work isn't giving him the satisfaction it used to. And as he puts it, it's just a job for him. It's like a chore. Which is kind of a really weird way of describing serial murder.
It's kind of funny. Yeah, I thought that this movie was going to go a little bit more in a comedic road, and in a lot of ways it kind of did.
Yeah, there's funny stuff.
Yeah, kind of was going to be a dark comedy. Mm-hmm. But, yeah.
It kind of is.
Yeah, the first Creep movie I thought was way scarier. This one I thought was a better movie. Strangely enough.
Yeah, I like this one a little bit more too.
Yeah, just a little bit.
It doesn't have quite the same kind of tension because you know who he is and what he is, but because you're getting deeper into his character, I think that is kind of like what's interesting about this movie, and there's definitely some creepy moments with that.
Yeah, I commend them for not just repeating their success and making the same movie twice, and instead trying to expand on this serial killer character and trying to logically follow his character progression.
Right. It is, I think, the only thing that it could have done, which is to get more into the character and not to just... I mean, a lot of horror sequels just will do that. They'll just basically repeat the first movie, the formula of the first movie.
And
let's just do that again with a different character
they'll do it
in a different setting.
And they'll do it to excess and to the point where like Pinhead in Hellraiser, great character, but by Hellraiser 3, you're like, okay, we get it. It's the Pinhead show. And then the fourth one, they're in space. Or that was the fifth one, I forget.
Oh, yeah, gotta get there eventually.
The movie sucked.
Aaron's he's a really eccentric guy. He's very childlike, and he's very he wants everything kind of just a certain way for his documentary, and they go out to film this scene, and he wants to do this scene where he's like in the water, and the water is supposed to be like up to his neck, and he's supposed to be like Jesus.
It's some kind of weird Jesus metaphor, because no one's done that before.
This guy's he's real corny, and he's just like such a goof.
It's kind of like how, I forget how he describes it in the movie, but he, in a lot of ways, believes his own lies to the extent that he doesn't even classify them as lies, just a different kind of truth.
Yeah, right, playing with the facts, as he puts it.
Yeah.
Right, and he contradicts himself. Like, he says, so there's a part where he says, like, I never lie. My eyes and my heart tell the truth. But then there's another part where he's like, yeah, I just really like what I've been able to do with you tonight, that I get to lie and be weird like I like to do, so, like, he's a liar, he's not. It's like, even he doesn't know.
But, yeah, that also explains his erratic behavior. Is his believing of his own falsehoods.
Yeah.
If you're constantly creating lies, but lies that you believe, then they might as well be your own truth. And doing that repeatedly, especially in rapid succession, would make you very erratic to anyone observing you.
And the thing that he says is that, like, when he kills people, he, like, absorbs some of their characteristics. I think him taking on the name of Aaron maybe relates to that.
Oh, clearly. I'm sure he tried to take as much as he could from Aaron.
So, like, at the end of the first movie when he's got his collection, he's almost like a collector of... He sees it as, like, he's gaining all of this stuff from each of the people. It's something that gives him comfort, I guess, because he's such a lonely guy. He's such a lonely, like, isolated person who has no idea how to interact with people and talk with people. This idea of, like, getting them into him is a way of fighting against that.
Yeah. It's almost like he also doesn't really notice just how lonely he actually is.
He's so relentlessly cheerful and upbeat, and it's so, like, fake.
Yeah, and that's why he...
Except, of course, when he gets into his sad sack depressive thing.
Yeah. Midlife crisis of a serial killer. What's the point? I don't even want to kill anymore. Really interesting take on that character. But, again, one that does totally make sense.
Yeah, this guy, I see it.
I totally buy this character.
Apparently, this character was... Mark Duplass said that... he had this idea for a character who would be... He said that in his... Mark says about himself that he is one of those people who has, like, a personality where he can, like... the way he put it is, like, he can, like, shift it 10% this way or that way, depending on who he's with. Just kind of, like, feeling the room, playing the room, sort of. But and in an extreme case, that could be sociopathy. Like, sociopaths are able to have those kinds of big changes in their personality. And so his idea was to do a character who would be that, but, like, times 10.
Yeah.
And so that's and apparently the character wasn't initially intended to be a serial killer. He was going to just be this, who's just an odd guy. And but I guess in the initial versions of the movie that they did, that they screened for people, apparently people responded a lot to the scarier elements. To, like, the kind of the creepier elements, which initially, apparently, Mark was like, it's not really as much about that.
Okay, that makes sense that it's not the original vision for that character, but it lends himself so well to being a serial killer.
Oh, yeah, that's why they took it in that direction.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Sarah, like, how did you feel about, like, her character and their relationship? Because I think it's interesting.
I was fairly convinced that there was going to be a plot twist in that movie where she turns out to be a serial killer. Like, maybe about I abandoned that theory about halfway through the movie, but I thought, maybe it could have gone the route that Sarah had actually been killing these people that she'd met on Craigslist. that might have been interesting, but
Serial killer meets serial killer.
serial killer meets serial killer. But she is. Oh, should we get into spoilers?
Oh, I thought we were on spoilers.
Oh, we're in okay, never mind. Well, we're in the sequel, so the sequel is inherently spoilers. All right, good to know. so she is definitely the only person that could survive an encounter with this killer, unless someone just got up and ran and changed their identity and moved to Mexico. That would be about the only other way to survive him.
Yeah.
But she is pretty much fearless, and that's definitely expressed fairly early on in the movie, where she goes and just meets these weirdos on Craigslist completely by herself and isn't afraid to do totally weird things with them.
Yeah, and he's trying to scare her. He's trying to freak her out. He's, jumping out at her and doing the stuff that he likes to do to people to try and scare them, except that she's a tough nut to crack.
She doesn't react, or barely reacts at all.
Yeah, she's just like, okay, that's whatever.
All right, I'm dealing with the crazy man.
Yeah, and he's like, okay, well, you can see that he finds her interesting. Of course, he's always really ingratiating with people at first when he meets them, but he does seem to, just like in the first movie, he kind of develops some feelings of love for her, or the closest thing he can feel, which of course leads to him wanting to murder her.
Yeah, and in this one, unlike the first creep where he develops like a platonic, almost Gilgamesh and Kidu-esque love for true love for another man, which isn't reciprocated. He develops the closest thing that he can to a romantic love, which of course is also not reciprocated, but she doesn't entirely let him know that.
Because she knows keeping him, that being ambiguous with that and not really letting him know her exact intentions is gonna keep him in a state where he's more likely to give her the kind of material that she wants. She admits it in the movie. Mm-hmm. She admits that there's a scene where she's like, oh, I know Aaron is really vulnerable right now, and he's feeling bad, but it would be so easy for me to just go down there right now and get what I want out of him. So she is using him, and it kind of that's a theme in the movie. It's the way that she is kind of she's sort of as he puts it, she's playing with the facts. Yeah,
and I think he respects that, or at the very least he understands it, because he's not mad at her at all that she's using him.
Yeah, because it's what he does.
Yeah,
so it's a thing they share in common.
Yeah, he if anything, it makes him like her more. Yeah, he thinks he sees a lot of himself in her. They do have some traits in common. Yeah, fearlessness, definitely. Impossible to kill.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a thing.
Kind of cold personalities. I mean, Aaron now, he's now called Aaron. He does have a cold personality, but not cold in the sense that he is cool to people. Cold in that he's disconnected from them. His emotions are purely his own and don't really seem to be severely affected by the outside world. Whereas Sarah is just kind of cool as a cucumber. Nothing phases her.
She's been doing this for a while. She's used to meeting weird people.
Even direct threats to her own life don't seem to faze her.
She's like, oh, this is just another one of the weirdos. Mm-hmm. Just another one of the weird people I've met. I've met so many weird people. This guy is just I've met people who think that they have different kinds of energy in their house, and I've met people who, this guy likes pretending he's a serial killer.
Yeah,
okay, that's just this weird thing.
It's more interesting to talk to someone who pretends to be a serial killer than it is to talk to someone who's trying to get over their issues with their mother.
Yeah, she's like, this is exactly what I've been looking for.
Yeah.
It's exactly the thing that she knew that she needed. It's what she knew that she'd been missing in her series, which is sparks.
She does inadvertently get him out of his midlife crisis Which probably isn't a good thing for humanity.
But it can only lead to one place for Aaron. It can only lead to one place, which is him wanting to murder. Of course, he says he murders the things he loves.
Exactly. But right, throughout most of the movie, though, Aaron wants to die. It's hard to know if he's really serious about that or not.
Oh yeah,
but he does show a lot of suicidal tendencies.
I think he does. I think he is seriously considering it, because he
does seriously attempt suicide at one point.
Yeah, he stabs himself.
But a lot of that is him being dissatisfied with his work and dissatisfied with feeling like he's no longer an amalgamation of the people that he's killed. Now that he's turned 40, and coincidentally, he's also about to kill his 40th person.
Oh, yeah.
Probably the number coincidence wasn't helping his mindset either. So he's thinking that he doesn't want his last murder, or his 40th murder, to be just another random person he met online. So he wants it to be his own death, somehow complete his life's work.
And he's excited about sharing he's like, I have a lot of experience with this, because he wants her to kill him.
Yeah.
And he's like giving her an axe and like, cut my head off, and it's like, I have a lot of experience with this, like I'm really excited about this. It's like he's getting to share the thing that he loves to do with her. Like, you're gonna do it. I'm so excited for you. You're gonna get to chop my head off.
You get to kill someone, which is interesting. At a lot of points, it feels like he's trying to pass the mantle onto someone else the same way he perceives that it was passed on to him.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Right, because he had the encounter with the serial killer who tries to bury him alive.
Yeah.
Who he ends up killing. Yeah,
he manages to... But it's interesting. Yeah. He was 15, large kid. He never... killed anyone before then. He gets picked up by the serial killer who offers him a ride back to town, and the whole time he's surprised that he doesn't have any of the feelings towards the person trying to kill him that you would expect. If anything, he just has respect for him.
Right.
And
he finds him magnetic.
Just an innate understanding of the guy.
Yeah, and then
decides that he really, really likes it.
That's a very good scene right there. It's just an unbroken the scene where he's telling that story. She goes, he's in the hot tub and he's listening to that song that Sarah loves her juicy fruit over and over.
Yeah,
and and it's just like an unbroken take of him in the hot tub just telling a story. It's a good shot, and that's the kind of thing that I like in found footage movies. One thing I really like about found footage is that there are scenes where, because of the format, because it's like there's always limitations that come with whenever you're doing anything like that. There's certain kinds of things like, okay, we have to shoot the scene like this in order to preserve that. It can make for just a good excuse to do something that you wouldn't normally do in a movie. Like, normally I think you'd be like cutting back to her reaction shot during the story as he's telling it.
Oh, but you'd have to.
It's more effective, I think, just seeing him the whole way through.
Yeah, that is definitely a strength that only found footage movies can have.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if it were just a normal movie, it would feel really awkward to just have one character talking to someone else and you only see him.
Yeah, that's what's cool. It's like in the hands of a good filmmaker, it's not just a gimmick. It's like it's an excuse to get creative.
Yeah, that I'll drink to that.
I thought Desiree Akhavan was good. I thought she was a good performance.
Yeah, I will.
Believable.
I will say this about Patrick Brice. He for one thing, he collaborates, but the characters in his movies are very believable. That if anything, that makes his movie, the two movies of his that I've seen. I do need to watch the rest because I've loved these movies so much, but
yeah, I like to see him too.
That everything that he spends so much of the movie developing his character's motives and giving you a real glimpse of who they are, and everything that they do in the movie completely makes sense from their point of view. And that's something that it doesn't seem like it would be hard to pull off, but it is surprisingly hard to pull off.
Yeah, like making characters make believable decisions and choices that are based on their character and their understanding what's going on, rather than on plot convenience.
Yeah, and I also get the impression that he gives his actors a lot of creative freedom with their characters.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think some of the dialogue's definitely improvised, and there's like improvisational kind of feel to it.
Yeah, and the movies feel like more of a collaboration than they do a specifically one person's vision.
Yeah.
And that can be hard to do, but in his formula, it definitely brings out the best in his actors.
Yeah, it definitely did feel like it was something that the actors were kind of like creating between themselves. It's such an actor-driven movie because it's just like
it has to be.
So much of it is just resting on their performances and their interaction, just little subtleties of that.
The entirety of the movie is resting on that.
Yeah.
The scariest item they have in there is a bargain bin wolf mask. Yeah, it's 100% actor-driven.
And there's this movie has like a lot of little just cool little things, like, well, there's that scene where she's like doing some dishes and he comes up behind her and very slowly, and he's like, you know how when you go into the woods and you see a deer just being a deer, and it's so creepy because he's like she's like the deer,
he's gonna kill her,
like in the woods looking, and then like he walks away and then he goes like you do at a deer.
God,
like you do that. Like you do at a deer, and then she turns around like a deer, right? Yeah. Like he's
man, and
it's such a creepy scene because like the way that it's shot too is so like stalkery, you know, like slowly moving in. It's like you just know what is,
and especially when you think about his wolf persona. Yeah, Peach Fuzz is watching you. It's gonna eat you.
Yeah, and she just kind of gives him like a little. She's kind of like whatever, but like there's like a little bit of like just a tinge of worry there in her eyes for a second. Like, what's that about? You know. But again, she just chalks it up to his just eccentricity, kind of. I guess like the first guy, like kind of like Aaron. You know.
Yeah. One of my favorite scenes in this movie is the shower scene. Aaron has seemingly decided that he's going to kill her in the shower. And she seems to know that. And she gives him the opening, although she still doesn't believe that he's actually a murderer. So he's sneaking up on her with the camera in hand and with the knife. And then he opens the curtain and she's in there and she's taped up her face with scotch tape to make it look like she's scary. Like, tape up your nose, you know, like you do when you're a little kid. And she scares the living shit out of him.
She looks freaky.
She screams at him and just,
yeah, and he's surprised. He's like, whoa, you got me. Like, this is the first time I think that Aaron's actually been freaked out, you know, that
I think that's really the first time
in these movies.
I think that's the first time he actually starts to fall in love with her, if you can call it that.
This is my kind of person. Like, someone who would do that.
Yeah, he liked her a lot up until then, but at that moment he was pretty smitten, for lack of a better term. Still, his concept of romantic love is fairly alien.
He can't keep people in his life.
Well, I mean, if he wanted to keep people in his life, first thing he should do is not axe them.
When he becomes attached to someone, he just wants to kill them. So you know, that's just kind of a that's the cycle for Aaron. So, there's apparently going to be a Creep 3.
I am looking forward to that.
I've heard. I am as well. These movies are really cool. I'm a fan. Patrick Brice, he's done 2 other things, right? 2 other movies besides these?
2 other movies. What are they? Yeah, he's made 2 other movies, The Overnight and Safety Not Guaranteed.
Oh, he directed Safety Not Guaranteed.
I haven't seen that. Is that good?
I've seen that one. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's a cute movie.
Alright.
Not horror. Kind of like it's got Mark Duplass in it. Mark Duplass is a guy who is building a time machine. Yeah,
I'm already into it.
It's a pretty cute movie. And it's got Aubrey Plaza.
I gotta ask you, does he actually build a time machine?
Oh, I can't spoil it.
Oh, okay.
I hope more indie filmmakers, do stuff like this.
Yeah.
Just stuff that's real stripped down, simple,
Yeah.
but with a good script and
Definitely.
good actors.
Good script, good actors. Can't stress enough how much I think character motivation is. That has always been my biggest pet peeve with movies, just any movie in general, is when characters are acting nonsensically from their own perspective, or from the perspective that they should have.
It's hard to get fully invested because you want to be able to relate to the character's perspective, kind of understand where they're coming from.
Yeah, even if a character makes a terrible illogical choice, it needs to make sense from that character. I don't really care if the characters in movies I watch do stupid things, but the stupid things have to make sense.
Yeah, you need to be able to think about them and be like, okay, yeah, I see why they would do that.
Yeah, I totally get it. Or put their lives in unnecessary danger. It's a worthy continuation of the same main character.
Yeah, they definitely did a good thing by just getting right into the kind of like exploring more of the character.
Yeah, they've created a unique villain, and
yeah, this guy's and
I can't wait to see more of him.
And his character is funny and creepy, and that's one thing I like about these movies is that like most horror comedy movies, it's hard for them to really be that scary or creepy, but like these movies are actually creepy.
Yeah.
Even sometimes as they're being funny at the same time.
And Patrick, in the 1 in a billion chance that you're actually watching this, please don't pinhead your main character. Don't turn him into like an annoying amalgamation or an annoying interpretation of himself,
and just kind of like constantly winking at the audience.
Overuse him. I mean, I get that he is definitely the main antagonist of all the movies that he's going to be in, but it's like Hellraiser. Pinhead started off as the antagonist, and then he slowly became the actual protagonist, and I guess it could work with this character, but just be careful. Horror movies tend to get off the rails, so keep experimenting, keep doing what you're doing. Try not to let it get too crazy.
And probably don't go to space.
Please don't go to space. Don't go to space. All horror movies go to space on the 4th episode. Except Leprechaun, they went to space on like the 2nd or 3rd because the movies were garbage.
I haven't actually seen any of the Leprechaun movies.
You are missing literally nothing except one funny line where a kid's like, "Eat shit, Lucky Charms," when he shoots him, and that was funny. That was actually pretty badass. And you're also missing a young Jennifer Aniston.
Oh, okay.
I'm not even joking. Like no 16-year-old Jennifer Aniston is in that movie. Hellraiser went to space in the 5th movie.
The Jennifer Aniston.
We should review that. It's such garbage.
So
no one told you life was gonna be this way.
Is that a song from the movie?
No, I'm just singing Friends.
Oh, because Jennifer Aniston.
We have gone off the rails.
Yeah.
Feel free to edit the crap out of this.
Yeah, man. This is A Bit of the Dark. Good night.
Good night.